There is a huge announcement coming out of Mexico based on a subject that is so big at the moment. Many people are asking the questions, are we alone in the universe? And we see so many different things happening around the world, so many sightings. The question in terms of Bible prophecy and this whole agenda, are UFOs or UAPs as they call it, this whole alien agenda, can we find it in the Bible? And I'm going to prove to you that it is a very biblical thing that is happening now. But the announcement that has been made in Mexico has many eyes opening to what is happening around the world. Like always, what I get you to do is to watch this in its full, to get the full context, and you will see yourself that the Bible is actually alive today, and everything we're seeing in terms of science is actually from a very biblical point of view. Hit the like button and get this out to as many as possible, because the return of Christ is very soon. Question from a person who would study Bible prophecy and look at this: is there any validity to the things that people are saying, UFOs or UAPs? Is there anything like this in Scripture? What I want to do is show you exactly what we see in Scripture and how this works and coincides with what's happening today, but also what this whole agenda is going to be used for. All the way back to the late 19th century, obviously we have Einstein, who came up with the theory of relativity, and further on we had more scientists then who said that they had to add a dimension, and we had the fourth dimension. Now our world at the moment is made up of what we call 3D or 3 dimensions, which most of us would know. So everything we see around us is made up of 3 dimensions. Now when we look at all of these strange things that are happening, all of these phenomenons, we can see that it's like they're actually stepping in from a different dimension. That's why I wouldn't call any of them extraterrestrial. I would say interdimensional. Now in terms of Scripture, there's 2 stories, there's 2 incidents to show you how obviously God used the 4th dimension to do what needed to be done. Now we see in Acts, Philip is baptizing eunuch. Now as he's baptizing him, eunuch gets up and is full of joy. But the Spirit of the Lord instantly takes Philip away. Now when you read the wording, it's in an instant, like a blink of an eye. Philip is gone. And he actually ended up in a different village a few miles away. This is one instance where we see the 4th dimension come in and be used. One of my favourite ones we find in Luke 24, and the story is so good, and this is after Jesus had raised from the dead and the disciples had met together, and some of them had come to tell the rest of the disciples what had happened. But as they were walking along the road and discussing this, a man walks up beside them, started to kind of talk with them. They didn't recognise who it was, but it was Jesus walking with them. And as they got to the village that they intended to go to, they stopped and said, "We're stopping here." And to make a long story short, Jesus ended up going to dine with them. And when he breaks bread, for whatever reason, I reckon as he breaks the bread, they see the marks on his hands, and then they recognised who he was. And it says instantly he vanished from their sight. And you'll find that in Luke 21 down to verses 30 and 31. In terms of what is this going to be used for, Blue Beam Project, I believe this whole alien agenda is going to be absolutely used for the false deception. Have a look at this.
Project Blue Beam. Can you describe what that is?
It's the ability to stage, through very advanced technologies, an alien attack or an alien event. And it's a whole series of them. Now, what most people don't know about since late 50s, early 60s, like the Barney Hill case and all that, those were all human assets abducting innocent people made to look alien. And so that psychological warfare was authorized in 1953, 54. 1954, we mastered gravity control. So we started deploying these assets to begin to condition the public that there's a scary threat from outer space. Mm-hmm. I mean, look at Hollywood, Alien, Ridley Scott's the movies. If you want to see a script for what's coming fairly soon, look at the movie Independence Day. Okay. It's right out of central casting for this covert group. So what their whole purpose is to create sort of a global militarized totalitarian superstate of the world fighting another world. It's like War of the Worlds. Okay. And that's been a 70-year defense plan. And I know people who've seen that plan.
What happen is you'll see more and more of all of these strange, weird sightings, and this is the type of sightings I'm talking about. Have a look. So if I was to wrap this whole thing up, yes, some of what we're seeing is probably legitimately real. We're seeing stuff from the different dimensions coming into our own reality. We have angels and demons and all types of things that the scripture gives us. But all of the stories in the Bible, we've many incidents where we see this, what we call the supernatural, which I believe is something from the next dimension coming into our reality. And obviously God works that way. And this is something we're going to see more and more. But the plan of the enemy is to use this whole thing as a huge deception, the whole alien agenda. But remember, regardless of all of the chaos we see going on in the world, God is always in control, and keep the